Hey, just a heads up. This is Tom. Before you get into the episode, I know this isn't usually how these start. Just wanted to let you know that we goofed. I goofed. I was copy pasting my show notes, and I think I got some of these quests out of order. In fact, I'm 100% sure I did at this point. I didn't realize this until we were like most of the way through the podcast, but part of it felt weird at the beginning. I was like, wait a minute, is this really how this went? So, yeah, we goofed. These are out of order. And I apologize. I hope it's still an enjoyable episode, and I hope after listening to all of this, you can kind of get where the order of events are supposed to go. So just be aware. We know we goofed. Sorry about that. We'll do better on the next one. Hope you enjoy it.
Oh, what are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This is the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, your source for lore and so much more. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots. I'm here with Lotus, as usual. I almost said Sam, like this is the Mass Effect Lorecast. You're not Sam, you're Lotus.
Okay, well, that's, I mean, whatever. I could accept that.
Can you be Sam? Can you be Sam today?
Sam's great.
Okay, cool.
I thought I was like Sam Tier, like Frodo or something going on here. I thought you were doing a Lord of the Rings
thing?
Podcast crossover. You know, you might run one or two podcasts.
I might do a few of them. That's true. But we are back. We are talking about the continuation of ESO's stories into some of the other content. And this week we are not discussing the individual zone stories from the original content. You might think, oh, you guys did the main quest line. Maybe you're going to do the zone stories next. Nope. We're jumping to the first official DLC. Orsinium. This was the first release. It came out, 2 years after the initial launch? Yes,
because we had the Imperial City launch, which was a good story, but also it's much more PvP focused. Which I suppose we probably should do the Imperial City story at some point. But this was the first chapter. A lot of people it was before they were called chapters. This was when subs were still a requirement, which was kind of weird. It's a lot of times referred to as like chapter 0. And it seemed like a natural continuation of the main story because it's irrelevant which alliance you picked. It's kind of like the previous one.
Yeah, because it takes place in Hrothgar, which was a new zone. It was the first time they added a new zone, and it was a brand new story with brand new characters. It's the first time Evely Short Arrow shows up, and she shows up in other places as well. So there's a lot to dig into. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read through. I've got some short little versions of each of the main quests, and we're going to get through this. And of course, Lotus is going to chime in like usual. So you ready, Lotus?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. So you start off, and you have an initial quest that kind of takes you to Orsinium or Hrothgar, and then you start the first main quest, which is called The Anger of a King. And you are approached by the shield wife, Resbala, in Orsinium and directed to meet King Kurog. Remember King Kurog? I always want to say Kellogg, like the cereal.
The cereal.
Right.
The king of cereal.
Right. Or the character from Fallout 4.
Okay, yeah. Which is weird because I can't unthink of cereal when I think of Kellogg.
The king reveals that Evely Sharp Arrow, words are hard, who was supposed to be in his service, is suspected of betrayal. He mentions that Evely shot 2 guards and might be working with Chief Bazrag, who recently escaped. Kurog stops short of ordering Evely's death, but expects you to handle the situation as you see fit. Then, when you leave, you come across a cryptic letter from Evely leading you to the Greedy Gut Inn, where you find a secret meeting between Chief Bazrag, something. Sure. And then High Priestess Solgra and Evely. Solgra, a Trinimac priestess, reveals that the Vosh Rock, a fanatical group, not a rock band, framed Bazrag and his followers for the temple attack. She also uncovers that the Voshrak plan to disrupt the upcoming clan chief's moot, a critical gathering. Evely, conflicted and feeling betrayed, hesitates, but eventually agrees to help stop the Voshrak. You head to the Paragon's Remembrance, where you face a trial. In the Chambers of Loyalty, you're forced to choose between sacrificing your ally, Telvia, to prove loyalty to the Vashrak or fighting the cultists. Sacrificing Talvia reveals the full extent of the Vashrak's plans, including their intent to attack the Moot and frame Solgra. All of the names are going to trip me up. This is just how this is going to go. Alternatively, fighting the cultists allows Talvia to survive, but leaves you with incomplete information. Regardless of your choice, you must confront Evely with the truth, impacting her faith in you and the future of Orsinium's leadership. And it's worth bearing note as we get through this first little main quest that this expansion gives you a lot of options for the way you can handle things, and things can play out decisively differently depending on your decisions.
Yeah, this was something you and I were discussing a little bit before, where this is still in the vein of that choice that you get oftentimes, which is much more comprehensible when it's a single player game where you can kind of do something and it doesn't matter who it affects because it's your save file. You can start over a million times. You can do whatever you want. You can mod it if you want, whereas this is a shared world between millions of other players. It's a little more restrictive what they can let you do, because it's like, if you burn down a village, okay, well,
right. Does that village not exist for you or for everybody? How does that work?
Right. It starts getting a little sketchy with that.
Right.
But originally, the Elder Scrolls Online in the first couple of years really did have a focus on letting you make some choices in the storylines, be they the main quests or side quests and stuff like that, and it would kind of determine the outcome. To a small degree, small enough usually where it's like, okay, if somebody makes a different choice, it won't kind of overlap in a way that they would see necessarily.
Yeah.
And they would instance it as best as possible between things. But they kind of shied away from that going forward because it started having some issues.
It gets complicated. And a lot of the more recent chapters don't really have, I mean, you still can have some options here or there, but they aren't as hard to retcon as, say, the death of a character or something like that.
Right.
So I guess at this point, we're not used to that, but it is cool that they tried to make it work in an MMO. You got to give them credit for trying.
It gives you a sense of urgency to the situation because it was like your choice was what mattered. And now it's a little more of like your choice is the way you went about solving something is kind of how it's changed. Whereas back then, we're going to get some interesting things like right out the gate we already have. So, and the last episode, we end by determining who lives and who dies.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's move on to the next quest. The next quest is called Blood on the King's Hands. You're sent to the Temple of Ire to save High Priestess Solgra from the Vashrak. As you arrive, Priest Ugus, I think that's how you pronounce it, Uugus.
Yep.
Warns that soldiers are trying to arrest Solgra. Depending on your earlier decisions, Evely Sharparrow may be present to help, but she might not be because they put a lot of flexibility in this. You fight through the Vashrak assassins and reach Solgra. She reveals a secret path to the Moot area and gives you a key to the temple's library. Suddenly, penitent Vumnish attempts to assassinate Solgra or Evely, depending on your decisions. And then you must decide whether to spare or kill Vumnish after the confrontation. This continues on. If Solgra is wounded, her injuries prove fatal, and she actually dies. And Bazrog, along with others, mourn her death. You go through this whole series of mourning her death if those are the decisions you made. But... and despite being a Malakath follower, commends her soul to Trinimac and swears vengeance on Kurog, which sounds a little crazy, especially for those orcs that don't believe in Trinimac and worship Malakath instead and all of that, right?
Yes, this is very religious kind of battle here in the city over. Yeah, this is a pretty substantially different belief system between these groups.
Yeah, it defines right here the kind of the groups and their different perspectives and who they worship and how they function differently. If Evely was wounded instead, she's gravely injured but alive, and Solgra is tending to her. Bazrag again vows revenge. You're then directed to the temple's library where you find a secret passage leading underground. You encounter more Vashrak soldiers and overhear Kurog and Alga plotting. You eventually reach a portcullis that Bazrag lifts, allowing you to enter an arena-like area where the other clan chiefs are being held. You fight off Vashrock soldiers and save most of the chiefs before facing Kurog and Alga. It's a tough battle, and as Alga can heal Kurog, which is basically why it's more difficult. But it would have been more difficult originally when this came out, but the power creep has kind of made this way less difficult than it was.
That, and this actually still involved the old system that many of you might not even be aware of, called the veteran ranks, which were just hard levels as opposed to the champion point system that's like these little incremental bumps.
Yeah.
These are just straight up levels like back then. So you'd get trucked if you were like if something out leveled you by like even 2 levels.
Right. So at the time, this would have been a much more difficult fight. But you managed to defeat them. Basrog mourns the loss of Kurog, once his close friend, and worries about the future of the Orcish clans. Returning to the palace, Basrog reflects on Orsinium's growth and asks you to invite allies to Kurog's funeral, pondering what the city will do without a king. So now they got to figure that out.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just like this is not that far along into the storyline, and there are already substantial choices that you make that are forming who's joining what alliances and everything, which is just wild to think of in an MMO.
Yeah. It's actually a very dynamic campaign, as we'll continue to realize as we keep moving. So let's move to the next quest, Invitation to Orsinium. The quest begins with a burning caravan attacked by winter-born soldiers who steal vital supplies. You defeat the attackers and speak with Evely, who explains that the caravan's peasants have chased the marauders. She sends you to aid Chief Basrog, who is pursuing the raiders. As you journey east, you encounter more Winterborn and eventually find the peasants hiding among broken wagons. After defeating waves of marauders, you discover an ice cave where the remaining peasants are found frozen by Iceheart, the Winterborn leader. After discovering the frozen peasants, Ulsha, one of Basrog's warriors, informs you that the supplies are still missing. You search the area for storage crates guarded by harpies and Olars the Cunning. Inside the crates, you find a note revealing the supply's location. You then deliver the note to Chief Basrog, who reluctantly thanks you for rescuing the peasants and protecting Orsinium. He instructs you to investigate further in the city, starting with the Greedy Gut Inn. This is the same inn that you go to in the beginning with the secret meeting.
Right.
In Orsinium, you visit the inn and you learn that Sholthog.
Sure, that sounds good.
You learn
Sholthog.
From Sholthog that Gulug, who's working with Khajiit traders, might be involved. Following a trail of green smoke, you track Gulug to Ufgul's bathhouse, where you confront him. Gulug eventually reveals that the stolen supplies are at Frostbreak Fortress. You then are faced with a moral choice. Do you report Gulug to the guards or keep quiet since he claims to be helping the poor with his profits? This is one of those typical ESO things where they give you this kind of decision. These are the ones that are still more common in the games.
Because this isn't like a game warping thing. That's like, okay, this is a person who essentially is like, okay, they are doing something. It relates to your quest. You can either stop their operations. In this case, it seems like generally benefiting the poor of the area,
right.
Or it's like, okay, well, I'm cool with what you're doing, so we're just going to let this go about. I'm just going to kind of go on my way and utilize the information you provided me.
Right. So you have to make the decision. You go back and report to the High Priestess Solgra. And then we move on to the next quest, the king-sized problem. After your victory at Frostbreak Fortress, you're summoned by King Kurog, either through his messenger Talvia or by encountering him directly. The king, impressed with your actions, asks for your help in pacifying the stubborn orc clan chiefs who resist his vision for unification. However, just as he's explaining his plans, the meeting is interrupted by urgent news. Malakath devotees have attacked the Trinimac temple in Orsinium, taking priests hostage. I love this it's like this rift in the religion,
it really is, where it's one of the things that I love about this whole expansion or chapter being called that is the fact that like this is like we're condensing it down, obviously, but I always thought like this is around the time Game of Thrones had kind of like just started to hit its stride. And the amount of backstabbing and like all these subplots really kind of coincided with that style of writing. And I felt that this is kind of one of the things that shined so much about the Orsinium expansion and Hrothgar in general is just like there's so many plots with so many characters going on because it feels like a literal living dynamic of these two groups who are like diametrically opposed to each other. And it's like, well, no, my way of life says your way of life is wrong. And it's like, we can't coexist, but we sort of have to coexist. But it's like, then there's that struggle for power. It's really, really good. I can't stress the writing of this one specifically enough.
It feels more like the kind of storyline you'd expect from like a Breton area.
Yes,
with the different houses and all of that.
It is a Daggerfall region type of deal, and it really did fit like the feel of the Daggerfall Covenant, quest line with just a lot of political intrigue as opposed to just, hey, slavers are bad, let's kill them, or hey, we're the Elmira Dominion and we don't like anybody.
I think it also does a thing where it raises our expectation when it comes to the orcs and the fact that so many of the other races look at the orcs as being like barbarous and simple, and yet they are complex. They have it's still a tribal structure with a king, but they have complex structures. They have complex social requirements. They have complex religious views that come in conflict with each other. And they are no less intelligent than any of the other races.
Yes, they are a full-fledged race in the series. And one of the things, to your point, before we move on, that I think is like worth noting is like that whole tribal structure they have. I love how it's like the chieftains, so much of it is like the old world style of our tribal roots, and we've got our yurts out in the fields and stuff like that. But then there's like the city of Orsinium itself that is being constructed with King Kurog trying to basically unify them and kind of bring them into the quote unquote like civilized culture that the rest of Tamriel is kind of like, oh, well, this is part of the empire and this is how you act and you have your diplomacy and blah. Whereas outside those city walls, you have the old style that's kind of resisting that modernization that's happening, which is another really cool dynamic this expansion shows.
Yeah, there's all these different sides, and it feels very realistic. It feels like the kinds of situations you would come across as people deal with these kinds of issues.
Yeah, for sure.
They just happen to be orcs. They're still people, they're no lesser than any of the other races. So this quest continues. Forge Mother Olga, King Kurog's mother, intervenes, advising you to handle the temple situation to avoid a potential trap meant for the king. At the temple, Captain Zugnor is struggling to maintain order and initially dismisses your offer of help. After convincing him of your abilities, he mentions a potential back entrance near the Mages Guild. Whether you take Evely's assistance or proceed alone, you're ambushed while trying to infiltrate the temple. Inside, you must avoid alerting torch-bearing fanatics to prevent the hostages from being killed. So you got a little creepy, sneaky part.
Yeah, this is kind of one of the earlier versions of their stealth system that we kind of have had grow quite a bit in the series.
Yeah. And then the quest ends like this. Navigating through the temple, you defeat the Grand Fanatic Shirkol and retrieve the Rectory Key, which leads you to the remaining hostages, including High Priestess Solgra. After freeing the priests and defeating Mazagug the Bold, wonderful names,
yes, bless you,
who guards Solgra, you're directed to speak with the Forge Mother, Olga. She thanks you for your bravery and informs you that your actions have been crucial in maintaining the stability of Orsinium during these troubling times. And this is where we actually get to see her as a character, and she becomes very important.
I was going to say, she becomes pretty important.
Yeah. So I love the names. I love the characters. I love how fanatical and passionate the orcs are. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Well, the thing that's cool about it is when you say fanatical, and it is because they're like very like, they're fanatical in a way that's like fanatically like, yes, no, this is what I believe and stuff like that, but less like, we've got a whole bunch of cultists. Insert crazed cultists here, just raving lunatics. These people have like a thought process to why they believe what they do. Right. And they just are like, fanatical in a way of not like a raving lunatic fanatic, but like, no, they're passionate about what they actually like believe in and want what they think is the best choice of action. Whether or not is correct is up for debate.
Which feels all too real.
Yeah.
It feels all too real. All right. Well, that's about halfway. Maybe we'll do one more quest and then we'll take a break.
Yeah, maybe do one more.
Yeah, we'll do one more.
This is an elaborate storyline. Going back through this has been kind of like a nostalgia trip for me. You're like, I remember this part.
Yeah, it's complex. All right, the next main quest, and this doesn't even cover the other quests that you can do that kind of fill in the gaps. These are all just the main ones.
Yes, we're not planning on our like synopsis of the story to the Elder Scrolls Online for the 10 years type of thing. Not really designed around doing side quests. Like there's so much more to this. This is just like, if you want to streamline it for the plot. Yeah. This is kind of it.
And in this zone, some of those side quests actually tie into some of these plot points.
They do. And that's kind of a common theme that they have. They're not totally devoid. I mean, some are, but they do try to weave them in so that it feels like it's all connected.
Right. So the next quest is called For King and Glory. After concluding the invitation to Orsinium quest, Forge Mother Olga approaches you. You discuss the urgency of dealing with the Winterborn. Oh, wait, these are out of order. Somehow I got this out of order. This is the one. Hold on.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I think this is the first one that you do when you first get there. Somehow I'm getting these out of order. So, this is when you're first introduced to the Winterborn. And this is the first quest that you take. Somehow I got these mixed up.
That's fine. At first it didn't even click, and it was like, wait a minute. So I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah. So this is the first quest where Queen or Forge Mother Olga approaches you and explains the Winterborn stuff, what's going on with Urfon Iceheart, who poses a significant threat to the unification of the Orc clans. Whether you're an Orc or not, she emphasizes the importance of helping her son, King Kurog, to defeat the Iceheart at Frostbreak Fortress. Upon arriving at Frostbreak Fortress, you find King Kurog strategizing with Orc chiefs. After a brief exchange, Kurog enthusiastically leads you in battle against Iceheart. Though throughout the fight, Kurog reveals a mix of confidence and wariness about facing such a formidable opponent. Together, you defeat Urfon Iceheart, securing your enchanted blade as proof of victory. Kurog views the triumph as a pivotal moment to solidify his claim to the throne and unite the Orc clans. Returning to Orsinium with the trophy in hand, you witness a tense council meeting where King Kurog attempts to assert his dominance over the resistant Orc chiefs. When Chief Targok challenges his authority, Kurog kills him, demonstrating his resolve to lead Orsinium in a new era. Despite the chief's adherence to traditional values, Kurog's actions leave the chiefs wary, foreshadowing future conflicts. He then dismisses you, promising more challenges as he continues his quest for unification. So
that was a lot. So before we I just feel like that's worth processing real quick. First, Frostbreak Fortress is a really cool name, but that aside, basically you go on this assault, you succeed in your little mini quest thing here. Kurog's all hopped up on adrenaline because it's like, oh yeah, this totally worked. We got rid of this threat. And during the council meeting, he just hauls off and impales another. It's not even. It was pretty funny because I remember back in the day, I was like, oh damn, that's hardcore. Kurog just straight takes his two-hander and slams it through his chest and then lifts him up and chucks him over a table or something like that. It's like, okay, so this is one of those situations where it feels like he's trying to be like, yeah, look, look how powerful I am. I'm probably all amped up on adrenaline, like I said, from the previous fights. But it's like, he's still going with the whole concept of I've got the whole warrior mentality too. But it's like, man, at the same time you're preaching, we need to come to terms with things, work together for a civilized society. Also, if you disagree with me, I'm going to kill you.
Right. Yeah, we're so civilized until we're not.
Yes, we're so civilized unless you disagree with me, and then I'm not civilized at all.
I just murder you. Yeah.
So all it does is end up freaking everybody out. They're like, okay, so much for that whole thing. So
right.
It's a really cool scene.
Yeah, you know what? I'm doing a little research as double checking this stuff. I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like that quest is in the right order, but it also seems like there's the requirement for doing the invitation to Orsinium quest. I wonder if this quest doesn't trigger unless you finish that previous quest.
I wonder if it's just a floating activation then. I don't remember. It's been so long. I don't specify. So maybe that's why it seemed a little out of order just from the way we're discussing it.
Right.
But it might have been a floating thing, like it's activated at a certain point.
Yeah, it might be. It might be one of those things that is like a continuation off of that like invitation quest.
Right.
But if you didn't do that, then it doesn't necessarily trigger this one. I don't know. Like if you know, let us know, because
I was going to say,
I thought I went through and did all these in order, and I'm double checking. It looks like they're in order, but maybe this zone has some.
It's been too long for my rusty memory to remember exactly the order.
Yeah, maybe this zone has some weirdness where some of the quest pieces can be done in different order. I don't know. That's puzzling. We haven't ever really run into this in doing these kinds of episodes.
I don't remember. I mean, I guess when I did it originally, why would I know to look for that?
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. In doing the research for this, there are definitely moments in these quests where if you make certain decisions, other things happen, and I had no idea that was even possible.
Oh yeah, we've run into that a couple times. I was like, I don't think that happened in mine, and we've done that for several things. Just like, wait, I didn't get that, or mine totally was different. And it's like a lot of times we just kind of blend in the information. That one's kind of weird. That one's screwing with me a little bit. I don't remember that specifically.
Yeah, if you know better than we do, let us know. We're not always perfect on all the information.
Yeah, no, it's 8 years ago I think I did this.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break and go thank our patrons. So don't go anywhere. But we've got some more quests to go over, and I'm pretty sure these ones are in the right order. So here we go.
This is Miss Mora, Dragonborn, and you are educating yourself to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
All right, so we've got a number of new patrons to welcome. Dennis J, Jacob, Mitchell M, Alexander M, and Andy C. Welcome to the Patreon. So glad that you guys have decided to join us. I hope you're enjoying your ad-free episodes and whatever other stuff you get. And you can get lots of things on the Patreon, t-shirts and stickers and ad-free episodes, and joining us for patron chats. The patron chat is coming up in 2 weeks. It'll be on the 29th, the last Thursday of the month. So there's still time to sign up if you'd like to join us, or make sure that you're available that night. 9 p.m. Eastern is usually when we do that. And so all that stuff you can check out at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. You can also help us out by leaving a review. But before we get to those, I have to shout out our Daedric princes: Blinding Vision, Hircine, Just a Little Bit of Chaos, Kira C, and Peter R. Thank you so much for your support. When it comes to the reviews, usually I have a certain website I use that kind of pulls them all together, but it turns out right now that they are performing maintenance and I can't actually see the reviews. I can't pull them up.
Beautiful.
So there's even somebody on our Discord who's like, hey, you guys haven't read out my review. It's been a few weeks. So I was totally planning to make sure we read that one out, but I can't see it.
Awesome. And now the thing's up for maintenance. Love it.
You're just gonna have to wait another week. I'm so sorry, but thank you for taking the time to leave 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. When this isn't up for maintenance, we will read them out on a future episode.
Hey, it could be worse. We briefly had, I don't know if you remember, when iTunes screwed up and it accidentally gave everybody's reviews to other podcasts. And we ended up getting ours got crossed with a cooking show. So
that's so weird.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can do that by helping us out.
We'll read them soon.
We'll read them as soon as we can. You can also leave 5-star reviews on Spotify or whatever the platform you listen to this on, or if you have buddies you play ESO with, or just have enjoyed Skyrim or whatever, and you want to share the podcast, that would be amazing. All of that is super helpful. All right, let's move on with the rest of the story. Here we go.
You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, dear child of cities. That is why the Night Mother loves you.
Speaking of cooking shows, I bet orcs would do a really good cooking show. Can you imagine a cooking show hosted by a bunch of orcs?
I imagine a lot of it would be meat.
Yes. All sorts of, like one of those like cooking shows where all they do is like brisket and like different cuts of steak.
Oh no, we can't go into this. I'm gonna go.
It would be so good.
It's too late for me to want to make food.
All right, now let's continue. The next quest is the King's Gambit. After completing the anger of the king, Mulza approaches you in Orsinium, upset because the king's men have seized her inn. To gain entrance, you can either pickpocket Sergeant Volman for a key, find another key in a guarded area, or if Golug was spared earlier, meet him at the bathhouse for a key he obtained. All of these feel
So
way
many
more
options.
like
So many options. This ain't got to be a programming nightmare.
yeah, like this feels like Skyrim type options, not ESO type options. If Talvia was spared, inside the inn you find Owain is his name, dying. He reveals that Evely and Bazrag were captured by the king. You proceed to confront King Kurog at Scarp Keep, where he becomes defensive when questioned about the inn and the fate of Evely and Bazrag. Kurog directs you to the dining hall, but instead you encounter Forge Mother Olga, who reveals herself as the mastermind behind the Vashrak. She magically forces you to stab yourself, declaring you a traitor. Before losing consciousness, Kurog expresses regret, claiming his actions are for the good of Orsimer. You are saved by Shield Wife Rezbola, who helps you escape and gives you a key to free Bazrog and Evely. Razbola warns that Kurog's intentions are not always treacherous, but he sees the death of the chiefs as necessary. You must now navigate a palace filled with Vashrak soldiers to rescue your allies and stop the impending attack of the Moot. But if Talvia was sacrificed, Evely and Bazrag are forewarned and engage Vashrak assassins as you arrive. Bazrag reveals Kurog may be in danger from Olga's influence. When you confront Kurog, Olga sentences you to death via a vision. Bazrag saves you, still questioning Kurog's motives. You learn the only way to the Moot is through the Temple of Ire. After fighting the Vashrak soldiers, you regroup with Bazrag and head to the temple to save Solga. This continues and ends with this section. Regardless of your choices, Bazrag instructs you to head to the temple to save Solga, as the path to the Moot is now sealed. He also rewards you with the king's snug girdle for your efforts. You get that good snug girdle.
So snug.
Yeah, so snug. So this is where, like, as we go through these individual quests, this is where everything starts to splinter more and more and more, and you have all these different.
So
variants.
this is a perfect example of like, how much can you remember after all these years? And so much of this stuff is kind of, like I said, kind of nostalgic when we recap them. It's like replaying the quest again, except in a really condensed form. Yeah, I when I first read this, I was like, I definitely wasn't stabbed. I was like, what is this talking about?
Yeah.
And then it goes into the part 2. It was like, oh, yeah. I was like, the vision thing. I was like, that, okay. I definitely remember this. Like, I was definitely betrayed, but I was like, wait, there's a whole other thing to this. No idea.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that till I read through these notes that you had set up. And I was looking at it. I was like, no, I don't remember this at all. Did I miss it? And I have all the stuff. So I'm like, how did I miss this? And then when I saw the alternate version, I was like, oh, yeah, no. I remember I showed up. They were fighting everybody, killing off assassins and all that. I was like, that was my quest line, I guess, that I got, which is really cool to realize that it is pretty divergent.
Yeah, and this one even starts with, like, after finishing the anger of the king, which is this other quest completely. So this is very complex, the way all of these things stack and can potentially play out. So the next quest is called Long Live the King, and Bazrag asks you to deliver 6 letters to allies in Orsinium. 4 letters go to the same people regardless of your past choices. Mulzog, Priest Ugus, Ulsha, and Bizra and Bumnog. Bumnog is such a good name. The other 2 letters differ based on whether you spared or sacrificed Talvia. If Talvia was spared, then you give Talvia a letter and Evely a letter. If Talvia was sacrificed, then you give a letter to Flies in Wind and High Priestess Solgra. Totally different people.
Yep. Totally just different people entirely.
Yep. Then you retrieve Kurog's favorite ale from King's Corner Club, Roxanne. I love that the barmaid's name is Roxanne.
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 All right, immediate copyright strike. This
You don't have
episode's
to
over.
put on the red light.
Nope. That's
Roxanne.
perfect, Tom.
exit. I can't really sing that high. Will provide it for free and express her desire to attend the funeral, which is automatically agreed to. Head to the palace overlook to begin Kurog's funeral. Depending on earlier decisions, either High Priestess Solgra or Shield Wife Razbala will flank Kurog's pyre, and Bosrog will give an inspiring speech. He reveals that the surviving chiefs have asked him to become king, and he agrees, vowing to continue Kurog's dream, but with a much more elaborate approach. After the funeral, you return to the palace where King Bosrog, along with Evely and possibly Solgra, will express gratitude for your deeds. Bosrog promises to consult with the clan chiefs and welcomes you to Orsinium anytime. If Solgra survived, she remains as a royal advisor despite no longer leading the Temple of Ire, which is being rededicated to Malakath. Evely either forgives your past decisions or accepts a role training archers, or if Solgra died, decides to leave Orsinium altogether. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she left in my game.
Did she? Did she? I can't remember. It's been so long.
I think she left in mine because I more so remember it being a weird situation where she was leaving. I think because it was very peculiar. She eventually will show up in a dungeon pack, like in one of the dungeon expansions, much farther down the line. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, Evely's back. I thought she just kind of effed off. That was the end of that. And yeah. I think that's why, if I remember correctly, she wasn't too pleased with the situation. It was just like, I'm out.
Right. Now, I think this is like the final main quest. And I think that we might have gotten some of these jumbled up, even though in my research it doesn't look like they're jumbled up. But I think maybe. I don't know. We'll edit this if we need to. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. Let me see if this one feels like it actually follows this other one.
I thought the end gets a little nebulous where you can do things in any order.
It seems like maybe it does, because this feels,
I'm pretty sure like it's
odd.
More consistent, and then it's kind of like, because there's whatever. Go on. I think it will explain itself as it goes. If I remember correctly.
Hercene says that was the end. I'm pretty sure that is the end, but then there are these other mainline quests as well.
Because there are the concluding parts to this, and that's what I mean. These aren't really. This is a continuation, which matters. But it's like that was the end of the, I don't want to say main plot, because there actually is like a little more, and one of which is sort of important. But this is more kind of nebulously placed because you can pick these up after the conclusion of, it's like an epilogue. That's the word I'm looking for.
The epilogue. Yeah. So there are a few other quests that we didn't note. There's In the Name of the King, which is when you return to Orsinium and Talvia first approaches you. So I think I did get this a little out of order.
Okay, that one,
because he's working as Kurog's messenger, and then you basically meet all the different clans, and you go through that part. So that part does happen earlier, and for some reason on my, at least in the UESP, because I pulled a lot of these from the UESP, that seems like it's noted later, which is not actually accurate.
So the clan related things, I actually forgot there was like a messenger that has you meet all the clans. You meet the clans.
So that one happens earlier. To save the chief is another quest where you go, basically you break the orc chief out of prison. And that one is...
Again, so, okay, that was one of the ones that I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that is important, but that isn't as much a main quest like that always struck me as something that you did alongside the main quest. So maybe that's why it didn't seem weird to me.
Right. And so, that other quest was like the final quest where you've got like the end of the story. And then there's this whole thing with the Vengeful Eye. Do you remember this?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. This is the thing that I was talking about, is like kind of like a little epilogue here.
Right. So you talk to Dagara in Orsinium, and you basically here, I'm just going to read from the UESP, so we're going to go to as close to the sources as we can get on this. The Vengeful Eye is located in the eastern section of the caves, in the southeastern portion of the room, with a large pool and island. And then Once you have the Vengeful Eye, once you go get it and have spoken to Kyrtos, you have a choice about what to do with the eye. There are 3 choices.
Right.
If you decide to return the eye to Orsinium, you return to Dagara and speak with her. If you destroy the eye, Kyrtos will be grateful. And on the other hand, if you decide to take the eye to the Shrine of Malakath, Malakath will speak to you through the statue, congratulating you.
Love that.
This is the denouement, right? This is the main story is over, but now we've got this other crazy thing with this other artifact, and Malakath can freaking show up.
Yeah, I know. That was immediately what I did with mine. I was like, okay, do I get cool Daedric Prince interactions now? The answer is yes.
Yeah. So that's the one I did as well. And that to me feels like the real end of the story, even though it isn't officially a main quest. So there you go. That's the story of Orsinium, more or less in order. I think we probably fumbled that up a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like one of the little side tangent things kind of got missed in the order that it was in. But so something else that is also maybe worth noting, because it's, I guess it's just straight up not a quest, but this is the first time where you get a hint, because they start kind of alluding to where you're going next, each of these expansions, because they have a long plan. They've said before, they usually are working on these expansions like 2 years before we sort of even know about them oftentimes. And there was a long play in place. They've kind of dropped back out of it, but for a while it was like seasons were condensed to 1 year. So it's like, okay, it's an all-encompassing 1 year. This was not how this was originally done. This story was independent, but it was also directly like following what happened previously.
Right.
And as a result, you get an interesting little Easter egg, I guess, at the end, where you kind of have an interaction with a vision of the prophet, mentioning, looking, I believe it's looking to the east or something like that, offhand. And it's implying basically, and at the time it was kind of like, whoa, what is this? Like, and I always
it's like the after the credits roll part of like a Marvel
that's 100%
film.
it. Did you stick around after the credits? 100%. And it's something they do very frequently with characters that you either haven't seen for a while, don't know where they are, or something like that. It kind of gives you just a little taste. But we didn't well, I'm sure somebody did, but I didn't realize it at the time that it was like, oh, he gives these little cryptic notes, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's still around. To me, it was just like, yeah, he's giving me a random vision because I chose for Sai Sahan to die to empower my amulet because he's the best. But I guess
note to self: don't be the best to Lotus.
Yeah, don't be the best. Always be second. At least around me.
Just outrun the bear.
Yes. So in my thing, I didn't really think much of it, because it was just like, okay, yeah, whatever. He's probably doing some weird vision thing. But I would imagine that would be very jarring if he was the one that you sacrificed.
Yeah.
Because you would essentially be like, okay, I'm seeing his apparition. Like, well, this is kind of weird. And it alludes to the next expansion / chapter that we got, which is the full-fledged thing where we went to Vardenfell. So it's like they basically kind of gave just enough of a breadcrumb trail to be like, yeah, this is probably where we're going. Like, but at the time we didn't realize it. And since over the years, we've become much more adept at guessing, especially with their teasers have gotten more elaborate into literal physical versions of like stained glass windows they're sending people.
Right. But even before that, in the previous expansion, there's almost always a quest where some character mentions some foreign place that's not in the zone you're in.
And it's like, oh, is that where I'm going? Or is that a red herring? And they do that a lot. I love that they kind of like give you hints to let you speculate for the next year, which is always a really fun little mystery to see. Okay, how many things did the community get together and figure out, and how many were we completely off base and had no idea what the hell we were talking about?
Right. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun with all the different expansions and stuff. And I'm sorry, I kind of goofed the notes a little bit. I think I copy pasted something in the wrong spot is really what I think I was doing.
Maybe.
But, that's what happens when you have multiple documents and then you're like, okay, put them all in the same document.
The freeing him from prison thing just did not seem like it was like, yeah, okay. I mean, that's like a side quest. So I guess it didn't really click to even tell you to be like, oh, yeah, no, this totally belongs here because it made sense. It's like, yeah, all right, whatever. Like,
Yeah,
that's fine.
So, all right, I goofed. I'm sorry. I'll double check my notes better for next episode. But
hey, I didn't catch it either.
Yeah, but I would love to if you have memories of these experiences and you picked a different option and you remember where certain things happened and differently than we do. Let us know because things play out very differently.
It's been such a long time, but for any of you who might have played it originally. Did any of you actually piece together that we were going to Vardenfell? Because it was a big gap of time between those. And I know, like, I'm sure some people did figure it out. But I remember being like, oh, my God, I love Vardenfell. Like, yay, we're going to Morrowind. But, like, when I saw this, I was just like, oh, interesting. Yep.
Okay.
And just, like, no further, just wind through trees sound. No further thoughts on it. I'm just like, yeah, all right.
Yep,
and
that's a place.
Like, yeah, it sure is. Sounds good.
That's a place. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. That's going to wrap up Orsinium. Maybe we'll go to another zone next time. We've got another episode before we have the patron chat. So, of course, you can come join us for that in the future. And you might have noticed I dropped some extra little extra episodes. I've got one that went up today as we're recording this, and I will be doing others. And part of that is that I have a much longer commute in the mornings, not because I got a job. I mean, this is still my full-time job, podcasting, but I've been driving my son to school, and he's now in a different school. He's in high school now. And so that school is much further away. So I have a lot of time in a car. So I bought a new little lapel mic that I can record myself while driving and talking about different topics. So you'll see some of these episodes pop up, and some of them in the future will be what if scenarios that'll be pitched by any of you if you want to jump on the Discord and go to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast channel and pitch a what if idea. And the ones I find that I'm most capable of talking about or have fun ideas about, I will probably record, and I'll drop them in as extra little bonus episodes for everybody. So I hope you enjoy those. And I also will try to clean up the audio as best I can. You'll hear some car noises and things, or maybe you'll hear my voice sound a little bit like this because there's an AI filter on the noise reduction thing, but it'll work out. So go check that stuff out. It's up on the most recent one is already up on the feed, and then there'll be another one next week, and then I'll do them whenever I can. So that's what's going on with this show. And then I'm sure you've got stuff going on, Lotus.
I am in amongst all the chaos of trying to record and everything. We got an episode of Tales out just recently, and I'm still working on I'm trying to coordinate it so that it'll actually look useful for people. But I am working on the full copy of the Betrayal of the Second Era board game, so I can give everybody a bit of a synopsis and show all of the stuff in it in like a video format, which I'm hoping to have sooner rather than later. We've been trying to organize a big game night with my friends so that we could give a full story tales style thing of what we actually did. But I also want to be able to show people exactly what is in it. And I've been in communication with Chip Theory. They've been beyond helpful with everything, but they've wanted to make note of a few things that are actually changing. Because my copy is not the one you can buy.
It's like an early test edition.
I guess there's a set amount. I forget how many they told me they printed as press copies, and I got one of those. But some of the things have actually they need to change. I guess they're rewording some stuff because it's actually kind of confusing, which I don't know. I understood the rules from what I had, but we haven't fully played a game yet, so maybe I'll understand later. But one of the things that I just thought was funny was the dimensions of the box are different. Because it's very snug right now. So it's adding, I think, 3 millimeters to the sides. So the box is objectively going to be slightly different than mine going forward, just because they wanted more spacing for you. So it is really secure in there.
Yeah.
But when I was taking stuff out to look at it and then re-putting it back in, it was just oh boy.
Yeah.
This
hey, I used to design boxes, and I can tell you that they are measuring it still in inches. I bet they adjusted it by an eighth or a quarter of an inch.
Oh, maybe then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 3 millimeters is still roughly what, an eighth of an inch or something.
Still, that's actually kind of an interesting.
But yeah, did you know the box industry, especially in the United States, is still in imperial?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. We have to measure in freedom units,
and everything's in fractions. So you have to be good at fractions, especially if you're a box designer or a box salesman. And I had box salesmen who could not do fraction math. And it drove me up the wall. It was just the worst. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So yeah.
I'm working on that, and I'm trying to make sure that it's at least useful as opposed to me just throwing stuff out there. But yeah, so that's kind of something that I'm working on the side, and I would love to stream again soon as everybody, thanks for all the feedback. Actually, everybody has had nothing but nice things to say about that tragic Daggerfall stream that I had, which went on forever, even though it was supposed to be like a 1 hour thing. It didn't last an hour, but so just kind of that. And then, you can always catch me on social medias as Lotus Doom.
Yeah, I also streamed yesterday. I downloaded the Wabbajack mod pack.
I saw you saying that.
Yeah, called Lore Rim is what it's called. It has over 3,500 mods.
Yikes, that's more than I thought it was.
Yeah, and some of the mods didn't work because I played for a few hours. I streamed it. And after playing for a few hours, I was not accruing XP. Some of the enemies were not attacking back, but most of them were, but some of them would just stand there and look at me. It was weird. So then I went back and looked at the mod list, and it looked like some of the plugins weren't actually triggering right. I don't know what's wrong with it. I probably have to reinstall the whole thing. So I'm not sure if I'm going to commit to doing that. But what I think I might do is there's another mod pack I got that just is a visual overhaul. So I'm just going to do that plus the mod that came out that allows dismemberment in Skyrim, which is great because you fight somebody, you chop their arm, and you might there is a chance that you cleave their arm off.
So like Chivalry 2 style, like limbs flying everywhere.
Yes, I love that. Or like Fallout, like you can blow the arms off of things in Fallout. Yep.
What is it? What's the gore one that I'm spacing on? Because you 5% damage.
Bloody Mess.
Bloody Mess. Thank you. It's like my favorite perk. I was like, why do I not remember? Actually, I have the Fallout perk.
It's like right there.
I need to look at the wall.
Look at the wall. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do that and then play the Bard's DLC, the Bard's Quest.
DLC. That I'm very interested in. Actually, once I heard about that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So I want to try that. I want to get a sense of what that's all about. So I will be remaking a character. The character I made in the previous one in the Lore Rim was named Peepers, and his eyes were like huge because all the scaling for the character creation was insane. He was the skinny, he had a dad body. He had like this big round belly and like big muscles at the same time.
Nailed
it was great. It was great. But we're gonna have to make a new character. So look for some live streams. Help me make my character, and we're gonna go try the Bard's College, and hopefully the graphics look nice and everything else works and all the mods play nice together. We'll see. But that's what I got going on. Aside from shows and podcasts, robotsradio.net. You guys know how all that works. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for hanging out while we stumble around the lore as I accidentally put things in the wrong order.
Hey, I didn't catch it quick enough either.
I was like, some of this doesn't sound right as we're going through it. And I was like, I should have double checked. Anyway, we also have the random page.
Our data print of the random page.
Yes, thank you, Hersine. All right.
Love you, Hersine.
This
weather's
is, on it too. I hit the random page. This is Priest Arthemis's note from Skyrim. Priest Artemis by Artemis, a fallen temple priest, seeks to open a forbidden chest. This is what the note says. The matriarch does not speak of what remains locked behind the gate. She says our way is to serve the goddess and the tribunal. But Erden was right. The artifact speaks to us. I feel its heartbeat rattling in my head like a loose rock. Rattle, 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 a curious song. Not a heart of blood, but stone. Yet the gate remains, for all intents and purposes, impenetrable. I see no levers or chains, no secret buttons under the display cases. There is nothing here save a few broken pillars and the mannequins. In fact, I grew so weary of their stares, I covered their faces with masks. It was not until that moment that the solution came to me. What if the mannequins themselves are the key? 3 faces and 3 masks. A tribunal. But which mask goes on which face? When memory fails, I go to the sculptor's room and I pray that at the shrine so that I can match blessing to symbol. I feel now I can solve the puzzle, but without the masks, it is useless. Erden hates it when I worry. He tells me to be patient, that masks or not, our master will show us the way. I have no choice but to believe. This is one of those little lore books that helps you solve a puzzle in the game. So
it's kind of funny. I don't know if it actually picked up on mic, but I accidentally whacked my desk right as you had mentioned, like the tumbling of stones. So I'm not sure if that actually gave a nice effect or, but it was completely unintentional.
Nice.
Don't know if my audio filtering managed
Foley
to
work.
Yeah, because I almost flinched. I was like, didn't mean to do that. But
all right.
that was actually like a legit random page rather than a piece of code or anything like that. That was like an actual book.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I hit it again. I get Blessed Spriggan.
That's more on brand what we usually get.
This is too fun. I'll just keep Gold Coast Cave Delver is awarded.
Immersive, it's like I'm there.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and tuning in. We'll be back next week, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you then.
All right. See you later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Check out robotsradio.net for more podcasts just like this, and join us on the Robots Radio Discord. Be part of a community of over 5,000 people who are excited about video games and so much more. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play.